Hey, it's the Rican, and today's a somber day. Today's not a day, um, not an ordinary day. It's the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. And being someone that lived in New York at the time, it's not, it's just crazy to think it's been 20 years. It's crazy to think someone who just graduated from high school this year was not born, was born before 9/11. It's I mean, I could share with you just my story. I remember I took morning classes because I used to work an evening job, so I could go to classes in the morning. It just so happened that morning I didn't go to class. Serendipitously that I didn't. Um, my mom wakes me up uh, 20 years ago, so I was living at home, and my mom goes, "Hey, they bombed the World Trade Center." And this, I'm going to tell you exactly what was going on in my head. I said, "Again?" I said, "Don't these people give up?" Because, just what, 8 years prior to that, you had the 93 Trade Center bombing. When I remember I was in junior high school and I was having lunch with my mother, which is funny. Not funny, haha, but just ironic. And so she told me all of that. So I turn on the news, and they're watching the news and seeing the images, and the weirdest, craziest thing I've experienced in my life. I'm seeing the plane going into the, flying, starting, heading into the building, and I'm seeing it on the TV, but hear it outside because I was like a mile away from the Trade Center. That's why I'm showing this image here. Um, I was looking for pictures of the World Trade Center from my neighborhood. Um, this here's Henry Street. I lived one block north of Henry Street, so it was the best one I could find. But this is my childhood. This is my memory when I look at the New York skyline and I see the new Freedom Tower. But this is what I grew up with, and like I said, it was such a weird, crazy experience. And you know, on that day, my sister worked, I want to say 2 or 3 blocks away from the World Trade Center. Um, so I was a mess. I shouldn't say that. I was just preoccupied with that. And I remember going up to my roof, because from my roof I could see the World Trade Center. And my ran into a neighbor because what no I went upstairs to go to the roof to see, because I wanted to, the first tower had fallen. I couldn't believe that. And I remember going to see, I wanted to take a picture, but I got caught up consoling a neighbor. And by the time I got upstairs, by the time I got off to the roof, the both buildings had collapsed. And our phones weren't working. I mean, the Lower East Side, our phones weren't working for um, weeks. Our phones weren't working, um, and I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry because I didn't know what was going on with my sister. Like I said, she was 2, 3 blocks away, and I remember finally seeing her and able to cry, seeing her in the white dust from the buildings. Um, And that's when I was finally able to cry. Um, you could say it was a tears of sadness, tears of joy, combination of both, because you know this is tragic, but the one person that I knew directly um, was okay. Was until later on I found out that um, my friend lost her father. He was a firefighter, of Ruben Carrera. He was risking his life to save people. He died a hero. That's no console to the family, because they, rather him have not been there and been alive. I see their messages every year. It's not gotten any easier for them. I mean, they were young. Um, I mean, she was me and her a couple years apart, so she was in her 20s. She had two sisters. I think her youngest sister was single digits, like 8, when this happened. So, or maybe like, yeah, maybe about 10. But doesn't make it any easier for them. But here we are, 20 years later, a moment that unified the world, galvanized the world. We had, we could have did whatever. When we went into Afghanistan, everybody was cool with it. You know, um, then Bush screwed it up, went to Iraq, and the rest is history. Here we are, 20 years later. We just, the war that we should have, the war we should have probably never ended, in the sense that we should have never been in Iraq, and we should have never finished in Afghanistan. We should have basically did to Afghanistan kind of like we did with Germany and Japan, Korea. I'm not saying that we needed to have that many troops, but we needed to make sure we had some contingency there. Didn't need to be forever war, but we had thousands of troops there. We didn't need that. The Afghan fighters were fighting. We were just providing them air support. That's all we were doing. And you know all we needed to do was maybe leave contractors, something like that, to keep the Taliban from taking control of the country. So never forget is not true. It's 20 years later. We've forgotten as a country. um those of us who experienced it have forgotten. But you also have, like I said, you have kids who weren't even born. They don't understand. They didn't grow up in a world where we worried about that after that happened. um I remember having to tell my sister was freaking out, and had to tell her, don't. um she was always wanting to leave the city. She was always worried about terrorism. I told her, you could pass away getting into a car accident trying to leave the city. I know it's a terrible thing to tell her, but I had to try to tell her, when death comes calling, it's gonna happen. Um, but I remember, for those of you who are too young to remember, and you're watching this video, I know these images don't mean much to you, but it's different when you see this, when you lived it, when you see like these images and these images. And I mean, the most disturbing images to me, I'm trying to see if I'm just going through some of the images here. Um, some of the most disturbing ones were seeing people jump from the building. Literally, people, um, because they wanted to avoid being, either smoked to death or after the first building collapsed, they would want to be the building collapsed on them. But this is what we lived through, and we've forgotten. You have, I mean, some of us have not, but a lot of us have. I mean, I'm here reading this article and they're talking about stuff, and even here, they can't not be political in here. They still have to have their agenda, and it's really disgusting. Just report what happened. Don't put your opinion in here, uh, and leave it at that. Like, here's a story. just report the story. That's it. NY, NYPD reports no credible threats for the anniversary, but they still have security in place because you never know. Um, here, I don't care much for the headline because all this stuff is meaningless. I think what's just disgusting is that doesn't matter who her father was, that she would oppose a resolution honoring the victims of the attacks. So, have we forgotten? Yes. I just pray that we don't have to have another 9/11 before we get that type of spirit, that galvanizing spirit to unite us as a country again, because we are divided as a country. Um, and our leaders have led us there. Academia, media. We are where we are today because of all of that stuff that's going on. When they want war, they could lie us into a war like Iraq. When you know they pushed lies from the Bush administration about weapons of mass destruction and all that stuff. So when the media wants something, they get it. They wanted the war with Iraq, and we got it. You know, they wanted Obama in 2008. They got it. The only thing they didn't get was Hillary, which surprised the hell out of them, and that's why they despised Trump. Was because for once, they didn't get what they wanted, but they did it in 2020. Um. Anyways, no problem. I don't want to go into that part of it. I'm just kind of freeballing here. Just like I said, it's a somber day, a day that we're not supposed to forget, but a lot of the country has forgotten those feelings. I remember living in Texas and people always asking me questions about that day. And I always told them the story like I just told you guys about basically, like I said, my just day consisted of making sure my sister was okay. My older sister. Um, and that was my day. Because it wasn't until maybe like what was it, like around 5 in the evening, somewhere around that time when um she finally made it back to us. So just we can't forget what happened. And I know for the young viewers who watch this, you can't relate. It's hard, and I get it. I understand. It's not easy to remember. It's not easy to experience if you haven't experienced that type of tragedy to be able to relate. And I get it. But it's something that we can't forget that what happened to this country. And um, so it was a unifying moment for all of us. Um, I don't know. how we get back to that moment, but it'd be nice to see it again without having it to be some sort of tragedy. So, um, with this, on this day, this 20-year anniversary, um, let's just try to have one day of, let's not bicker over politics, and let's just unite on the memories of today. So, anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. Um, just this wasn't a story. I just wanted to commemorate the 20-year anniversary. It was this sad day. It was a sad and horrific day that I hope we won't ever have to live again. Especially, I don't want it. Hopefully, not in my lifetime. So, the right Rican. Um, hope you guys have a good. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. I know it's, like I said, it's a somber weekend, and um, that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Like and subscribe to my channel. Um, I'm the right Rican. You follow me on YouTube and Rumble, and interact with me on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram. Um, that's all I got for you guys. I'm out.